Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Star Wars Oddball. Not really my actual name. Be kind of weird if it was. But that's the name of the channel. And, today we're going to talk about Obi-Wan Part 4. Because there's some stuff to talk about. Overall, I really like this episode. It was probably my favorite out of the 4 that are out currently. I did enjoy this episode a lot, and I want to talk about a few of the things that I enjoyed. So let's get into it. First off, the location looked really, really good. The Fortress Inquisitorius looked right out of Jedi Fallen Order. The underwater world, leading up to the fortress was really cool. Looked really good as well. I gotta say, just the set design and everything and how they had the volume set up just really added to the scale of how big this base is. I love that we started with Obi-Wan healing in the Bacta, but also feeling Anakin through the Force because of their encounter. They're both in Bacta tanks, very submerged, desensitized. They can really tap into the Force and their connection as, master and former apprentice. And then obviously Obi-Wan wouldn't want to stay in that Bacta tank for long if he keeps sensing Anakin. So, he's going to pop out of there and try and find Leia as soon as possible. Because that's what this is all about, protecting Leia. So in this episode, it was really cool to see Obi-Wan start to transform into the Jedi he once was. And I think that was the main purpose of this whole episode. I know some people have some gripes about it. What was the point? Filler episode, yada yada. I get it, but at the same time, I really think this was trying to drive home the fact that Obi-Wan is becoming the Jedi he once was. He's finding his hope, he's pushing forward, he's protecting people, he's trying to be a true Jedi again, and it's really cool. We see him in his more of a tunic, resembling a Jedi. We see him fighting with his lightsaber. We see all of that fun stuff. We also see his Force abilities coming back. He had that awesome moment where he's holding back the ocean as the glass started to crack and crumble because of a blaster bolt, which is, it is what it is. The Leia and Reva interrogation was really good. I enjoyed that. I think Leia's very strong, obviously, in the Force, just naturally, like any Skywalker. And to see her be able to resist Reva's mind probing was cool. Should have been a red flag to Reva, but nonetheless, it was cool to see. Now, one of the big reveals in this episode was all the dead Jedi encased in the amber honeycomb, whatever that was. Obviously, we saw Master Sunube. We saw some other leaders that were among the Jedi Council. We saw a lot of Force sensitives. We didn't see Quinlan Vos, which is good. I know a lot of people thought one of the people looked like Quinlan. I know some other people thought that one of the characters looked like Mace Windu, but that guy had a hand where Mace Windu shouldn't have a hand. And, I think they're setting up Quinlan either as a big reveal in a later project or even in this project. But I do want to touch on Master Sunube because he was such a cool character from the Clone Wars TV series. Kind of a deep cut because obviously unless you've seen that series, you wouldn't really know who this weird alien species in a Jedi tunic is. He's a very kind Jedi Master. He was once on the Jedi High Council, and then he eventually stepped down, and obviously he worked with a lot of younglings. He was an expert in Coruscant underworld crime, I guess, per se, and he helped Ahsoka after she had lost her lightsaber from a pickpocket, and they went on a mission, and he taught her the value of patience, which was really cool in the end. The Jedi being encased in amber, that can mean a lot of things. I'm pretty sure they're all dead. They didn't look like their life signs or vital signs were being monitored or preserved. It looked like they were just dead and encased in this strange amber, probably to keep them from decaying. Who knows? It did remind me a lot of Illuminara Unduli in Rebels. She looked like she was in a similar tomb, but her body was a lot more decayed at that point. We start to see rebel cells forming, which is also cool. We see the people in the T-47s show up at the end, and then we also see how they've been basically helping Jedi survivors and other people escape the Empire. And then finally, I do want to talk about the Leia and Obi-Wan moment at the end of this episode, because I thought it was so touching, and it really just brought a tear to my eye when Leia grabbed Obi-Wan's hand and they just had that look in silence. It was just very beautiful, very well done, and you know, just to see this connection between these two legendary characters is really cool. It just adds more emphasis to when she is calling out to Obi-Wan as her only hope. Obviously, I have some gripes about some of the stuff in this. You know, I really liked seeing Darth Vader show up all angry, you know, charging in, force choking Reva. I don't like that he just let her get away with it scot-free. I understand she put the tracker in Lola, and that's a plus because now Darth Vader knows where Obi-Wan is, and he knows where the path is, where all these Jedi survivors could be kept. So I'm sure there's going to be a big showdown, big lightsaber fight. That will hopefully be awesome, but it's yet to come, so we don't know yet. As a whole, I don't think you could treat this episode as a filler. I think it is important to the overall story. I know some people see it as a filler, they see it as not very important, but then again, this whole series is to be viewed as a big movie, and this is just the middle part of the movie, you know, and it's gonna ramp up to hopefully an epic conclusion. And after all the episodes are out, maybe some people will have different perspectives on the overall show. Now, I do have some complaints. One being Obi-Wan smuggling out Leia in a trench coat in an entire base full of Imperial officers, stormtroopers. They're supposed to be on high alert also. It was kind of goofy. I also don't like that the glass underwater is able to be shot out by a blaster bolt. You think they'd have some thicker glass? Maybe, I don't know. Something, because that seems like a OSHA violation for sure. When the T-47s show up and no TIE fighters chase after them, thought that was kind of weird too. What's the point of all those TIE fighters if you're not going to use them? Also, I guess they were trying to set up this base as like no one would ever attack it. You know, we wouldn't know what to do. I get it, you know. But at the same time, the Empire isn't supposed to be completely incompetent. You know, they are still a force to be reckoned with. But, you know, there's examples of their incompetence throughout Star Wars. You know, we have Rogue One, where an entire base is being bombed and no one is doing anything until Director Krennic yells at them to do something. So I understand. They're just, you know, the Empire isn't effective in communicating very well. So I understand that point. I don't like seeing all the negative hate towards this series, but I also understand that a lot of it is flawed. And these are legendary characters, and they should be, you know, it should amount to a legendary show. And right now it's just like a subpar show. It's like good, it's all right, but it should be great, it should be amazing. And I've touched on this in previous videos. The fact that it's not great does bother me. And, you know, I could eat my words. I felt like at this point I would think this show's amazing, and right now it just doesn't feel like that. But who knows, episode 5 might happen, and then episode 6, and I might just be blown away. And this might have been, you know, all for something, all leading up to an amazing story arc, amazing showdown between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. But until then, I don't know. It's not hitting the mark. This was the one episode I really enjoyed watching. But if I start like breaking it down and looking at some of the plot holes, yeah, it kind of falls apart. It just seems like the writing isn't holding up very well, and that bothers me a little bit. But listen, we all have opinions. We all like different things. Okay, I like this series so far. I think it's good. Again, I don't think it's great. You know, it's all right. I'll keep saying that all day long. I don't understand how this show is dividing fans so bad. but it is, apparently. And I just want to say that you can have a different opinion. You can like something that someone else doesn't. That's fine. And you also don't have to try and force people to like what you like, because sometimes they're just not gonna. My wife, she's never gonna watch Lord of the Rings, and that's fine. It's just not her jam. She fell asleep during the first movie. It's okay. I'm not gonna make her watch it and make her like it, because it's just not her thing. So some people aren't gonna like this show right now, and maybe they will, maybe they just won't. And maybe it comes down to just differing opinions, and that's okay. It's totally fine to have a different opinion about something. I just don't understand where people just go after others that have differing opinions. I've been saying differing opinions a lot, okay? But listen, just because you don't like something, just because someone else does, doesn't mean you need to attack them. And then vice versa. Just because you like something and someone else doesn't mean they're toxic, okay? That's not it. That's not how this works, okay? Certain things click with certain people, and that's fine, okay? That's fine. I personally like this show and think it's pretty good. I don't think it's amazing, whereas some people think it's amazing, and they have nothing but praise for this. But I think we need to be open-minded, and we got to understand that there are a lot of valid criticisms about this show. There are some things that aren't very good, and they're not being handled very well. And we should be able to look at that and be like, yeah, I understand, I see that point of view. But even if then you still disagree, that's fine. You can be like, I don't think that's necessarily the case. But just to be like eating this up and acting like everything's perfectly fine, or just to be spitting this out and being like, this is the worst thing in the world, that's just, they're two polar opposites, man. It's too much, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I guess I don't really know where I'm going with this. I just want people to be respectful of each other, and I don't like seeing the fan base going after one another. I'm going off on a tangent here, but I'm just trying to say we're gonna like different things, and that's fine. That's fine. That's what I'm trying to say. This is a safe place for all of us to just enjoy Star Wars. Let's just enjoy it for what it is. But let's not just act like everything is perfectly fine, okay? Because truthfully, there are some criticisms that need to be heard. And if we act like everything is perfectly fine, then nothing's gonna change. And if we act like everything is the worst thing in the world, then they're just not gonna listen. There's a middle ground we need to find some compromise, yada yada. But in short, I did really enjoy this episode. It was my favorite so far. I hope that episodes 5 and 6 really nail it. Hope we see some amazing flashbacks. I hope we have a good showdown between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. I hope we see Qui-Gon, or at least hear his voice communicating to Obi-Wan. We got to see something that will reinvigorate the series, because right now I still feel like it's not hitting the mark. Even with this episode, it's just not hitting the mark. And they might totally close it out perfectly, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. May the Force be with you.